I have always been here.
Greetings everyone, it is the Ambassador and welcome to another installment of my Ambassadorial editorial series. And today, as the thumbnail indicates, going to be talking about another character from the DCEU or Zack Snyder's Snyderverse. And that character is, of course, Lex Luthor. And for those of you that are aware, I recently did a first-time watch party for Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition. And I recently did a couple of rewatches because there were several things within this film that I had picked up on, but I wanted to go back and revisit. And today we're going to spend a little time and we're going to discuss this iteration, Zack Snyder's iteration of Lex Luthor. And as always, if you enjoy the content I'm bringing to you here on the Ambassador Wing, make sure you hit that like, that share, and that subscribe. Especially if you aren't subscribed to the Ambassadorial Wing. But that all being said, let's jump right in. This version of Lex Luthor was very intriguing to me for a number of reasons. And speaking not just as a DC or Marvel fan, but as a fan of comic book movies in general and a fan of comic books, the villains within the DC and Marvel universe have always been intriguing to me. But what we have here in Batman vs. Superman, particularly with the Ultimate Edition, is an interpretation of a villain that we are all fairly familiar with, whether it is the Gene Hackman version, the Kevin Spacey version, the Clancy Brown version from both the Justice League Unlimited, and Superman the Animated Series, or any of the DCAU films that feature Lex Luthor. But there was something about this version of Lex Luthor that was very different. And throughout this video, I'm going to hit upon 3 different moments in the film that I think were very pivotal for setting up this version, this iteration of Lex Luthor. And to just kind of give my general thoughts, in terms of Jesse Eisenberg's turn of Lex Luthor, I know a lot of people don't particularly care for this version, but speaking for myself, I think Eisenberg brought us a very layered and intriguing adaptation or interpretation of this character of Lex Luthor. And throughout the course of this movie, we see Lex descend into a state of madness or mania that is very uncommon for the character of Lex Luthor. And I think there's a few things that work here in terms of what happens to Lex during this movie. Because obviously he does have his grand scheme, he does have his grand plan to pit Batman and Superman against one another. Because the thing about Lex is he sees not so much Batman, but he sees Superman as a threat to him and a threat to the world especially. And one point I want to make, there is some sort of trauma, whether it was physical, emotional, or psychological, that took place in Lex's past that has made him the way he is today. And I would be very interested to see what exactly that trauma was. Or maybe it would be a little too much for any of us to handle, but still, that being said, something happened to Lex in his past that has made him the man he is today, the man that we see in Batman vs. Superman. The first interaction we have with Lex is, of course, at LexCorp, and it's when the senator from Kentucky, portrayed by Holly Hunter, comes to LexCorp with her entourage, and of course you see Lex's right-hand girl, Mercy, in the background. And he's trying to advocate to get the piece of kryptonite from the World Engine in the South Indian Sea exported to LexCorp. Not to mention he wants access to the wreckage of the Kryptonian scout ship, and he wants General Zod's body. Now, through some political finagling, some greasing of palms, or whatever the case, he gets 2 out of 3. He gets General Zod's body, and he does get access to the Kryptonian scout ship. And it's right there at the point of getting into the Kryptonian scout ship that I think we see the first major turn in Lex's character arc. Because for those of you that recall, and most of you that have watched Man of Steel will recall this, he gets access to the computer within the Kryptonian vessel, within the scout ship. And the computer asks him, "Do you wish to proceed?" And he's like, "Yes, I do." He's like, "I want to take command, and I want you to teach me everything." I have a theory, and this is just my theory, and if y'all disagree with me, hey, it's a theory, it might be entirely wrong. But I have the suspicion that when he's learning all of this knowledge that is stored within the Kryptonian vessel, there's something in there about the Apocalyptans, about Uxas, about Steppenwolf, well, Uxas / Darkseid, about Steppenwolf, about all the others. And I think there's a possibility that maybe Darkseid himself worked on Lex's mind, turned him further in hopes that Lex would kill the Kryptonian, would kill Superman, to aid in Darkseid's grand design. Now again, this is just a theory. I don't have any basis for this whatsoever. This is just some inferences and me trying to piece things together as best I can. But from there, we have our next scene between Lex and the senator. They're at Lex's home, his family home, and they're there in his father's room. And again, I get the impression that something happened between Lex and his father, but we don't know exactly what. And I would be very interested to know or to see what exactly happened to Lex. But there's another clue that kind of, I feel, harkens to this idea that maybe he was influenced by Darkseid. And also, I think that Darkseid worked on twisting his theological beliefs, or whatever the case may be, because he looks up at that painting that's called Paradise Lost, which is essentially a depiction of Lucifer being cast out of heaven by God. Now, I think Lex did have some sort of bias, extreme bias, almost a pathological bias against Superman, and he does see him as some sort of demon, as some sort of malevolent force on Earth. But I think that scene not only speaks to the possibility that he has been manipulated by Darkseid, but it also speaks to his own pathology, his own mental pathology, that he has this need to drive Superman away from Earth or destroy him. And of course, he builds his grand scheme. He kidnaps Lois, he kidnaps Martha Kent, and sets Batman and Superman against one another. And there's another scene in this movie that I very much resonate with, or not I'm fascinated with. It's actually when Lex is staying on the helipad after Clark saves Lois, when Lex throws Lois off of the top of LexCorp Tower, for lack of a better name. And you see Superman, you see Clark hovering above him. And then he slowly comes down. And you see Superman, this being, this man with all this power and all this ability, brought literally to his knees by the mad genius Lex Luthor. And I honestly found that incredible, because if you all, I think Snyder did that scene deliberately as a mirror to what happens in Superman 2, both when the President of the United States and Superman kneel to General Zod. I think, and I don't want to get off on a whole tangent here, but I think Snyder did that deliberately, harkening back to Superman 2. But that scene is so incredibly powerful in terms of the dynamic between Lex and between Clark or Superman. Because here's a man who has nothing but his wits and his will, even though his wits and will are deranged and very dark. Something else I will say about Lex, he has all this access to technology and to infrastructure, and he has this position of power and privilege. And he's almost like a dark mirror image of Bruce Wayne. Now, at this particular point, we see the stage of Bruce or Batman's journey or time as Batman, he has become very cynical, very negative, and very narrow-minded. But he still tries to use Wayne Enterprises to do good in the world, trying to fight crime and prevent all these horrific acts from happening. But I very much feel that Snyder was trying to mirror Lex and Bruce, and I think honestly he did a very good job at that. But I think the nail in the coffin for my theory about, I think this obviously is a given, towards the end of the movie, after Superman has destroyed Doomsday, and you find the SWAT team infiltrating the wreckage of the Kryptonian ship, and you see Lex down there in that what they call the Genesis pool or whatever, the Genesis chamber, and you see that metallic holographic image of Steppenwolf. I think that pretty much cements the fact that the Apocalyptans have made contact, and now they know Superman is dead, and Earth is without a protector. But I think the incredible thing about Lex is the fact that Zack Snyder could have played it very safe with his interpretation for how he wanted Lex to be, and he could have just done another similar thing like Gene Hackman or any of the animated versions of Lex that we got. But instead, we got a mad, broken genius. Because let's be candid here, Lex Luthor in this particular iteration is exceedingly smart, exceedingly deceptive, and exceedingly capable due to his mental faculties. And I think that's what makes him such an intriguing character to explore. The one way I would kind of categorize Lex, this is a man who has everything, but yet he lacks the most important aspect of being a human being, and that is a sense of purpose and a strong grasp of the goodness that exists within humanity. And I think this is something that was robbed from him. Whatever happened to Lex in his past, I think has damaged him and made him susceptible to manipulation by Darkseid. But I think also whatever happened to him in his past turned him into the man that we see in Batman vs. Superman. And this isn't the normal atypical Lex Luthor who's the industrialist, the genius, although in this version he is both. But he is a shattered, to a degree, and a broken man. And that's what makes him truly dangerous and truly intriguing. So, well, anyways, folks, that is going to be the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. And as always, make sure you comment down below with your thoughts on anything I brought up during this video. And as always, if you have not hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Ambassadorial wing, and I hope you will do so. So, that all being said, folks, you'll have a great day wherever you're at. And until next time, this is the Ambassador, signing off.